Gotta be up here somewhere, Tommy. I remember it across the street from the church.
You're right. I think that's it, right over here.
Oh, I think you're right. Yep, there it is.
Looks good. Yeah.
Well, good morning. I'm Kevin O'Connor, and welcome back to a new episode of This Old House. And today we start a brand new project, although not this one because, well, we've already done this one.
41 years ago.
Yep.
This was the first project. And you know, a lot of people don't know that my dad, my brother, and myself were asked if we would do this project, and we said, well, I don't know about this old house and being all the way into Boston. It was a long way to go, so we kind of turned them down, and Norm did it.
Norm and Bob Vila kicked it off all right here back in 1979.
Hi, Norm. Hi, Bob. Wonder if you can talk with us for just a minute. Want to get a closer look at the eaves up here? Sure.
We're not working on this house, but we are working in this neighborhood, Dorchester, the biggest neighborhood in Boston, and it has always been sort of an entry point for immigrants, always a blue-collar working neighborhood, and it still is to this day. And one of the main reasons is because the type of housing it has.
Yeah, I mean, look at the architecture here. All the rows of houses right here, they have small lots, but if you can see, the triple deckers, 3 floors of identical living on each floor, and it allows the homeowner to get into real estate. They're able to buy these houses, live in one floor, and rent the other 2 out.
And today we're working on our own triple decker. The homeowner has been living in it for almost 40 years. Unfortunately, just over a year ago there was a fire, so she's been out of the house. But Charlie and her crew are going to help her get back into it.
Got to get her back in. A year's a long time to be away.
Coming up right up here on the right.
I think that's it.
Let's see what we've got here, Tommy. Oh yeah, just what you'd expect, right? A whole row of them, Tommy. This one here's got 3 porches stacked over each other, bay windows. Same situation here with our house.
Yeah, a lot of windows.
Check that out.
That's great.
Carol.
Hey, Carol.
Hey.
How are you?
How are you?
All right. Very good to
see
see
you.
you.
Good to see you.
So this is it, Carol, huh? The family house?
Yeah, this is it. This is my home since 1980. I bought it then,
Wow,
40 years
40
ago.
years.
40 years. That's amazing. So what was your situation back then when you bought
I was
it?
raising my daughter, a single parent, and I bought the house. At the beginning, I had tenants on the first floor
Yeah.
and a tenant on the third floor. So I was on the second floor with my daughter living out of one room.
And why just one room?
Well, because it wasn't fixed up. It had a lot of work. It needed painting. There's wallpaper that needs to be done.
Yeah.
Floor needs to be cleaned.
So you move in, you start renovating right away.
Exactly. Start renovating.
Pretty
Heard
typical.
that story
Yeah,
before,
many
right?
times.
Many times.
So eventually the tenants move out, correct?
The tenants move out, and then I moved just family in. So it's been family ever since.
That 40-year continuous run comes to an end temporarily about a year ago, right?
Yeah, we had a fire.
All
So I can show you the damage in the back.
Let's have a look.
right.
It started at the house next door. They had fireworks all day. We were just actually going to bed. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning. So the fire started here, and we just heard people outside yelling there was a fire. It caught the back of my house on the back porch near the 3rd floor. So I looked out the kitchen window, and I could see the flames from this house blazing up. So we just grabbed what we could and just ran out.
Must have been terrifying.
Yeah. Well, if my sister ran the house with no shoes on, she's panicking.
I can only imagine.
I said, I'm so thankful that they saved the house and everyone got out safely.
Well, that's the important part right there. But I'd love to see the house. Can you
All
show
right,
it to
I
me?
can show you the inside of the house.
All right, lead the way.
I'll go find Richard, learn about the mechanicals.
All right, catch up with you later.
Come on in.
Oh yeah, here's your front foyer right here. This is like a common area. It's everybody's mailbox. Stairway to the 2nd and 3rd floor. You got a beautiful leaded glass window here.
Right. I love those. So,
Yeah, they're beautiful pieces. So what do you got
this
going
is
here?
now, it's the living room.
Oh yeah, oh wow, this room's in great shape.
Right.
Floors look good. Because if you had a lot of water here, you'd probably see the floors
see.
buckling up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, from the expansion.
Right.
This looks like a
This
dining.
is a dining room,
Yeah. Walls look good. Ceiling came down.
a built-in cabinet here.
Yeah, pretty common. Okay.
So this is the
kitchen.
kitchen.
Wow, this looks like it's had some work done to it recently.
Yes, we had just recently replaced I renovated the kitchen and the bathroom. We put in new cabinets, we put new floors down.
Granite countertop,
Yep.
tile floors.
Yep.
Walls look pretty good, except the outside wall.
Yeah, because the fire, you could tell here, it started here, but they were actually just making sure there was no damage from the
Yeah,
fire.
we were standing right outside this wall
Right.
here. So this is
Right.
where the vinyl was all melted and
Right.
the charring. So
Right.
here's your back hall that leads up to the second and third floor, the stairway. So this was the kitchen.
This was the kitchen. This is mostly water damage so far. The walls are all down, but the fire was on the outside, as we could see. So this was renovated, new flooring, new cabinets, and new tile in the bathroom
Yeah,
as well.
bathroom looks like it was relatively new too. New bathroom fixtures and
Yeah.
tile.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is the dining room.
Oh yeah, look at that cabinet. You can see the leaded glass window. You got a little broken glass right there. And you got a beautiful window right there leading
Stained glass,
outside. Yeah.
yes.
And I noticed the dining room right here is pretty typical. They would actually put this railing right here.
Right.
This is actually called a plate shelf. And should be a notch, which is right there, a shelf. That on this shelf they would stand up plates, and the plates would go into the shelf so they wouldn't slide down and fall on the floor. Pretty nice.
All right. So now this is a bedroom.
Okay, so we've gone from the natural trim that you have back here
Right.
to painted trim.
Well, I think somebody painted over it, but it has to be before I got here, before I bought it.
Yeah, so it's been painted for a while. I see you saved some of the cabinets in this granite top from the kitchen.
Yes.
That's smart.
Yep.
Great. All right, so what do we got here?
This is a hallway and leads into another bedroom.
Nice bedroom with a lot of glass. Great, great.
Yep. Now we'll go up to the third floor.
Okay, so now we're out in the foyer that we came in downstairs.
Right, and it's a front hallway here leading up to the third floor.
Wow, this is a big entryway.
Yes. This is the third floor. This is my floor. This is where I lived.
Yep.
And this is my bedroom. And the setup is exactly the same as the second floor.
Looks the same, but they took the ceilings down in here.
I don't know why they took the ceilings down.
Oh, well, maybe they're checking for something. Who
All right.
knows? So they took
now-
a plaster down in the hallway here.
Right.
All right, so what do they do down here?
This is where the damage was in the fire, was down in the back in the kitchen area. As
Yeah.
you can see, I just renovated the kitchen, put down new floors, and I put down new tiles in the bathroom as well.
So the bathroom and the kitchen was redone.
Right, but you can see the fire damage on,
Oh yeah, here's where they cut a hole right here. Now, if I look at the studs, okay, look between the studs, there's a gap that leads right up there. All right, so right here, see that charring? So if the fire got into this wall cavity, it would travel up here and go right across the ceiling, because up there is the roof. I can see the pitch of these rafters going down to the bearing wall there. If the fire gets in there, it would travel underneath the roof, burning the roof. As I look deeper over there, I can see another hole that they cut with new plywood covering the hole. I can see the charring on this beam right here, and also on this joist or that rafter. So there was actually flame under here, and that's why they opened up the roof to put that flame out.
can we fix it?
Absolutely, you can fix the charring, but more importantly, with the wall open like that, you can install some type of fire blocking to stop the air from going up into these chambers.
All right, sounds great.
Carol told us that this basement was filled with water the night of the fire, Richard, but looks pretty dry now.
The tide has subsided, thankfully.
Thankfully.
But most of the equipment was underwater, or pretty much underwater. So.
In terms of equipment, you wanted to give us a little history lesson?
Well, you know, anytime I get into these buildings, this was 1905, so you think about how far we've come in 115 years or so. You know, this building originally would have been potentially coal-fired. So anytime you think about that, you got to find a place where there's a window and a coal bin. So it was either here, or here's clear evidence of a coal bin right here. You can see the chute right here.
They literally just dumped it through the window into a pile in your basement.
Correct. And then it was just a series of, the first heating system was most likely a coal-fired gravity system, a big old furnace that sat down in the middle. Now you can look up and you can see evidence here of some of that original, here some of it's covered in asbestos. And it would have just been that you heated up this basement and this furnace so hot,
So when you say gravity, you're talking hot air.
which means there was no blower, because it was before electricity, really. So it would have heated up and gone up gently to the first floor, second floor, third floor, and you never thought about, yeah, here's some asbestos right there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's two more right here.
Right.
So just different ducts up to different rooms and
Air
such.
conditioning was never dreamt of. It was only, how do I survive the winter? And you would heat it enough to heat up the first, second, and third floor. Right. Now, it looks like the owner, probably, who was on the first floor, I assume, probably got sick of not being quite as comfortable. And so I see evidence here of a hydronic system. So hydronics would have come in the early part of the 20th century. And so you could see these pipes, this radiators upstairs. And he or she might have had a very comfortable system with its own thermostat and left the hot air for the second and third floor for the tenants.
Okay. And then down here on the far end?
Right, so here's the remaining equipment. You can look at, here was the extent of the air conditioning, a window air conditioner that's been underwater and actually burned and underwater. Mm-hmm. Here's an old cast iron tub on legs here, original. This wouldn't have been original, but this would have been a boiler that would have been for the first floor, and that probably was underwater.
Tipped on its side right there.
Okay, and so this building probably would have had that big furnace right here. It was originally coal-fired. Then they went to oil. The homeowner talks about having oil tanks here, and then she switched to gas in probably the 80s and something like that. And there were 3 separate water heaters, 2 furnaces, and a boiler, each individual. Now this equipment's all been underwater, so I don't know whether we can reuse any of it.
Right, but you do want to go back to maybe 3 separate systems for each unit?
Yeah, you'd like to have accountability on the fuel and comfort, and have each person have their own thermostat and their own hot water supply.
So we still need an answer on these, and we also need an answer on the plumbing itself.
That's right. Let me show you upstairs. There was a certain amount of utility in these 3 deckers. You know, you had 3 floors, 3 kitchens right stacked on top of one another. It meant that the kitchen sink was always in the same spot. And so too on the bathroom. The bathrooms were stacked one on top of another. The tub was always right there in the window. It's really how we got this standard 5x7 bathroom in America. And it allowed the toilet to be right here next to the stack, which serviced all 3 bathrooms right there.
Yep, okay.
So you can see new PEX right here, but look at this. Here's some of the original lead water. Look at that.
Good heavens.
Huh?
That must have tasted nice.
Yeah, yummy, yummy. So if you lived on the second floor in the winter, you felt really lucky.
Why is that?
Well, the first floor would have been overheating because the furnace was below it. It would have been plenty warm.
too hot,
Top floor would have lost a lot of its heat through the uninsulated attic.
too cold.
So the middle was just right.
Perfect, okay.
So remember those registers, those ducts we saw down in the basement? Here's one of them. It comes up and it dead ends right here, and here's a register on this side, and this side it would have come in gently. There was no fan back then. It just would have come in nice and gentle, and this place would have been perfect. And this one continues up to the top floor.
the same registers would have been up there.
That's right.
A repeat.
That's right.
Very nice.
So in the kitchen, it certainly would not have had a gas stove like this. Originally, it would have had a kerosene or coal-fired big old stove that sat right here, right near the chimney.
What could go wrong?
It vented right into here. And oftentimes, it had a thing next to it, because it was hot all the time, had a thing next to it called a corporation, which would heat up the water off the stove.
So no plumbed in hot water, it was all right there.
Well, it was either plumbed in. If it was pressurized water, it would be plumbed in. Or if not, you take a bucket, carry it to the tub. That's why it was only Saturday nights you might have taken a bath. One last pipe for you to identify on our history lesson. What do you think this is?
Well, it's too big for supply lines. It's not cast iron, so I'm going to guess a vent.
Nope. Let me show you upstairs.
Of course not. Should have known.
So there's an industry that's not around much anymore, the coal supply person. He also brought kerosene, and you know what they did in the summer? They brought ice. So they would bring blocks of ice up the back stairs all the time. The door was either left open or the key was hidden, and the ice block would go into the ice chest right here.
Yep.
What happens when ice melts?
Come on, this is a drain for the ice
That's
box?
absolutely. There's 3 of them right here. There's the lead,
way.
and the water would drain right there.
It was vented too?
Yeah, it had to be, because otherwise it wouldn't go down through the pipe.
I was half right. Hey Heath,
Hey guys, check out what I found when I was looking for some of the knob and tube wiring.
look at this mishmash.
An old city gas lantern in there.
Right, so city gas was only used in cities, and it was actually, they took coal, put it into a vat, and the fumes that came off the top of the coal, they would then collect and distribute to local houses. And the heat content wasn't enough to use it to heat the house, but it was just enough to be able to do gas lighting. So they'd run the small gas lines right here, and then there'd be a little shutoff called a cock and a burner right here. You come and light it when you need it, like a candle right here.
So which do you think the house originally had, the city gas or the knob and tubing?
I think they might have put both in at the same time. I mean, they're both about the same time period, and I can't imagine opening all these walls up to install both.
They weren't sure, both were inconsistent. They weren't sure what was going to win. They'd gone from whale oil to local gas, and now this new thing called electricity.
Beautiful, okay.
So, and look at this thing right here. This is actually a non-electric intercom. A tube that goes down between the 3rd floor all the way down and the 2nd floor, would have had a little megaphone, and you'd be able to yell down to the Iceman to say, come on up.
This place is a museum.
It's crazy, it's great.
Well, we're obviously not going to use the knob and tubing
No.
for wiring, so how's the electric in the house?
Let's take a look over here and we'll get started in this corner. So you can see some more of the knob and tube that's exposed since the plaster came down. But Carol actually had this house rewired about 5 or 6 years ago. Someone really took a lot of time to fish all these wires through the existing walls, leaving everything intact, putting the new service in. But now we have to look at what we have to replace.
Because of the fire.
Because of the fire. So part of it's easy to figure out. Some of it is simply damaged by fire. You can tell what you have to replace. But other issues are water damage. Where do we start with that?
And you're just starting that process?
Just starting now.
All right, well, it looks like we got our hands full with this one.
All right, good luck.
Thank you, Heath.
Thanks.
Hey, Tommy, Charlie.
Kevin, I'd like you to meet Russ. He's our job foreman.
Oh, terrific.
Knows the area inside out, knows the city.
Love
and
it.
more than that, he knows these triple deckers inside and out.
All right, well, welcome to the team, Russ.
Thank you.
So I know you guys have only had a little bit of time to kick it around and look at it, but Charlie, I'll start with you. Things that concern you, top of mind for you?
We're going to start where probably the big thing for me is code upgrade and budget.
Yeah.
Carol's retired, as you know, so somewhat of a limited income there.
And she wasn't expecting this.
Not expecting this, and then on the budget end is the insurance claim.
Right.
They go everything with a fine-tooth comb, and we have line-by-line items that we really have to pay attention to.
So give me an example of how that's going to affect what you do or don't do.
Perfect example right here, asbestos on the old ductwork.
Yeah, Richard told us that is no-go, that is old and no good.
Right, so we've discovered that, once we got here, we saw this, so this becomes part of the code upgrade that we have to pull it out. We have 3 different areas in the house that comes from the basement all the way to the top floor.
Okay. That can burn through a lot of insurance money real quick, and the insurance company is going to be looking over our shoulder.
Be looking over our shoulder for sure, but once again, that's part of the code upgrade, which is only covered to a certain percentage of the policy, so it's not unlimited. So we really have to watch every little dime.
Gotcha. Okay. So Russ, you've got a lot of experience in this town with these 3 deckers. The first thing that comes to your mind in terms of concern?
Proper insulation. This needs to be brought up to code.
Wait, did it ever have insulation?
No. So,
It's knob and tube and you couldn't insulate it.
Oh, that's true. Right.
so anything we do will be obviously a big improvement. You can see we have areas that are already open, so they'll be easily accessible. But others are still closed in, and hopefully those ones will get from outside, either moving some of the vinyl siding, making holes and filling from that way, or from the inside with making more holes inside of the plaster.
Maybe just little holes through the plaster where you have to. And
There you go, and then we'll patch because we're going to be plastering anyways once we get inside.
Yeah, all in your
perfect
exterior
example
walls.
right here. This is an interior, but we've got a lot of places where it's plaster on one wall and wide open on the other.
Right, exactly.
What have you seen, Tommy?
Well, an old house like this, if it's not a total gut work, you got to think about the new heating and cooling system that's going to go in. So you got to run the duct work. So now we've got a part of the house, most of the house, a lot of the plaster isn't coming down. How are you going to get the duct work from point A to point B without doing extra demo and extra repair work? So you've got to modify the system somehow on each level to get that duct work in with least intrusion.
So a lot of challenges anyway with triple deckers. Insurance is, on top of that. I know Carol she's working with an insurance adjuster, someone to represent her.
Yeah.
And I'm actually going to go meet with him and see what else I can learn.
Yeah, good luck.
All right, thanks guys.
Yeah, so this should be fun. Got-
Carol had fire insurance, and she clearly had a fire. So most people might think it is as simple as the insurance company sending her a check for the size of the policy. Well, it is not that simple. And because it isn't, she has reached out for help to someone who's called a public adjuster. Dan, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Kevin.
So let's start with, what is a public adjuster?
And so we're licensed by the state to prepare, present, and negotiate an insurance claim on behalf of the policyholder.
Okay, so you're working for Carol, the homeowner, representing her with the insurance company.
That's
And what do you're kind of going head to head with them, saying, oh, it's not worth this much, it should be worth more?
Yeah, well, we're going to come and we're going to take all the inspections. We're going to handle all the communications for the insured, and we're going to deal with the insurance company directly.
And so does your expertise include knowing what things cost in a neighborhood like this, on a house like this?
That's correct, and we're also going to use the software that the insurance company uses to create an Xactimate estimate in 3D to depict the actual damages that happened on this property.
Gotcha. All right. And so where are we in the process?
So currently, we just did an inspection after demolition, and we're going to be looking forward to doing the code inspection.
Yeah, I just heard a lot about that, where we're going to be required to upgrade certain systems in the house, maybe the staircase in the back. You can help us with that? You can...
Correct. So we want to make sure there's no overlap in any costs that have already been paid for.
Right.
We want to separate out that code, and we want to bill that separately, and it has to be incurred. Then the insured will be reimbursed.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, as I say, a big undertaking, so we appreciate that you are helping us out with this and helping Carol out with it as well.
Thanks for having me.
You got it. Thank you.
Gonna get ready to start pretty soon. You must be excited, huh?
Carol,